New York Jets trade talks are heating up, and this has massive implications as the New York Jets have multiple positions of need to cover. And with trade talks getting very, very interesting with the NFL draft just 24 hours away, we're going to discuss all of this as there have been multiple moving parts that very likely could lead to the New York Jets making multiple different trades or one trade depending on what ends up happening. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And if you guys are part of that 67% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest, make sure to subscribe right now. With the NFL draft being 24 hours away, we have a lot of coverage going on. You do not want to miss out, but let's jump into the video because the New York Jets, they've been linked to multiple different people, basically many different football players over the past couple days and weeks, whether it's been draft prospects or trade targets. There's been a lot going on with the New York Jets, and right now where things stand, the rumors are as hot as ever. And to go over the first one in regards to an NFL veteran that the New York Jets have been linked to in the past, it was revealed by Jordan Schultz that it's not just in their DNA to spend that much money on two wideouts, that George Pickens is more available than people think. And Green Bay's been very serious, but they're not the only ones, as other teams are also interested in the services of George Pickens. As we know, the New York Jets are in need of a wide receiver. Yes, it is a position they could likely target in the draft, and that would not be surprising. But outside of that, also with Pickens on the market, you know it's someone the Jets will do their due diligence on.
George Pickens is a deep threat, a guy who struggles to get separation, but he makes really good contested catches at a high rate when he does get the ball put anywhere near him. So he would be a guy who would fit into the New York Jets offense pretty smoothly. He would fit in there right next to Garrett Wilson. It's no secret that the New York Jets need another wide receiver to pair with Garrett Wilson. And if we traded down with the Steelers and picked up George Pickens, that would be perfect because the New York Jets would get the wide receiver 2 that they're looking for, and they would still have the first round pick to go ahead and spend on a tight end or a right tackle, whatever hole you want to fill next. And then further down the draft, they could just keep going, checking boxes, filling holes. It would look really good for the New York Jets if they were going to go ahead and trade down with the Steelers for George Pickens. The problem with this trade is the Vegas betting odds are showing a trend that we don't like as people who want to see the Jets trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Couple days ago when we first floated this trade idea, the idea behind it was Shedeur Sanders was the favorite to go to the New Orleans Saints. That is no longer the case. Shedeur Sanders is now the favorite to go to the Steelers, all the way down at 21. So we know the Pittsburgh Steelers need a quarterback, and when it looked like Shedeur Sanders was not going to be available with their pick, that would have made it more likely that they would want to move up ahead of the Jets so that they could jump the New Orleans Saints and steal the quarterback from them. Now, with the Vegas odds showing that the Steelers don't have to do that anymore, they can just stand pat and still pick up a really good prospect like Shedeur Sanders. That hurts the New York Jets pick. We've talked about how we want to see the New York Jets trade down because we have multiple holes and we want to see all those holes be filled in the top 3 days of the draft, but we have too many positions of need that we need to draft and only 3 draft picks to do it. So we have been talking about the number one thing that needs to happen to increase the value of the New York Jets 7th overall pick was we needed Shedeur Sanders to slide down the draft board. The one thing that we didn't account for was Shedeur Sanders actually sliding all the way past the Jets and getting into the back half of the first round. The idea we had was he was going to surprise everyone by falling out of the top 5. But then once he got to 7, people were going to be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he's still on the board. Let's go up and trade with the Jets and go get this quarterback who could be our franchise guy. Now teams at the back half of the first round, they're going to stand pat and say, I think Shedeur Sanders might make it down to us. So if you were looking for the New York Jets to trade down in this draft and attack that deeper tackle class that we've been hearing about, or that deeper tight end class, this is bad news that those odds have changed. But getting back a little bit back to the topic, George Pickens would be, even though he is a bit of a diva, would be the perfect complement for Garrett Wilson in our offense. Justin Fields loves to throw the ball deep, and we don't have a true deep threat to complement that skill set yet.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would be great to bring in a guy like Pickens. He gives you another wide receiver and just another receiving threat, which the New York Jets desperately need. As you mentioned, it gets that deep threat for Justin Fields, a guy who likes to throw the deep ball. It makes Justin Fields more comfortable. But at the end of the day, yeah, with with Sanders now being the odds-on favorite to, or the Steelers being the odds-on favorite to end up with Sanders, it does make it harder to imagine that they would be able to, or that they'd even be interested in trading up, especially to 7th. So that does make things a bit more difficult, but the Jets, they certainly will show their interest in Shedeur and George Pickens, because at the end of the day, it's a known thing that they need receivers. You get a veteran guy in there who is a very, very good player and fits a position of need, and also is a bit different from Garrett Wilson, which is nice as well to have. But, Matt, we have another trade update as well, because it's draft season. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, man. And the other one is that the Chicago Bears are looking to move up from pick number 10, and 6 teams ahead of them are open to moving back. Now, Matt, I know personally that you don't exactly love to count past 4. Like, once you hit 4, you'd rather start over at 1 and then go like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just go back to 1 again. But so with this, if 6 teams are interested in moving back and the Jets have the 7th pick, that means there's just a 13%, there's an 87% chance the Jets are one of those teams. If you just keep counting, it makes sense. You just have to start counting past 4. So if that happens, in all seriousness, the Jets, that gives them an 87% chance to be one of those teams interested. Absolutely, they are.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it
Gives them a
does.
66% chance, Chris.
What are you talking about?
It's the Chicago Bears who want to trade up. There are 9 teams ahead of them that can trade up. 6 of those 9 teams
I was thinking just the 7. Oh, man, I can't count,
the one
guys.
Can't count.
Oh, my God. Oh, guys, I'm an idiot. I mean, it's
All
just
right,
not
Chris.
new news, but...
Here's what it is. No, it's not new news, but it's okay. We still love you, Chris. So we have been very vocal about wanting the New York Jets to trade.
Dude, I stopped counting at 7.
We've been very vocal about the New York Jets, how we want to see them trade down, pick up more draft capital specifically for next year, so we can go back up into the first round to get a starting quarterback if Justin Fields doesn't work out. But if we trade down to 10, that number is important because, as me and Chris have just discussed before this video started, the odds for Tyler Warren, the line where he's expected to be drafted, is 9.5. So that means Vegas thinks he's going with pick 9 or pick 10. So if the New York Jets traded down to pick 10, that would officially put us in the Tyler Warren zone. Tyler Warren, I should have mentioned, a massive, massive favorite to be drafted either pick 10 or later. So being at pick 10 would put us in perfect position in Vegas's mind to take that player. Of course, I still don't want to take a tight end because you think about how you acquire players. You draft them. A lot of great tight ends have came from day 2 and 3 of the draft. You pick them up in free agency. Tight ends are cheap in free agency, or you trade for them. Tight ends, even if they're drafted highly, they are easily acquired in trades in the NFL. So I don't think it is a smart idea for the New York Jets to go ahead and pick a tight end with the first round pick. Although if we trade down to somewhere like 18 and Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland's still there, at that point, I would be willing to have that discussion about a tight end in the first round. Although me and Chris here on Jets Digest would much rather see the New York Jets spend that first round pick on a position that is more important, more expensive in free agency, harder to acquire, that being a right tackle or a wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson.
I agree. And also considering at 10th overall, you still would be able to get a lot of different, right now it does kind of feel like there's a very good world that Mason Graham could end up on the New York Jets if he's available at 7th. And I mean, just you look at things right now, Armand Demembo is still going to be there, but where the interesting thing is that you look at, say the Jets trade to 10th. Say Armand Demembo likely is gone at 10. We'll just live in a world where it's likely that Armand Demembo is gone. I do agree with you. I think Will Campbell's going to go. First of all, I think he's going to become a guard, like you said. But on top of that, I do think he's going to end up on the Patriots. I think all of this still leads to the fact that if the Jets are picking at 10th, there is a real world where we see the Jets pick Kelvin Banks. Like, they clearly like Kelvin Banks. If they still want to go OT, they can trade back, still get a great offensive tackle in Kelvin Banks, and more draft capital. It just depends on how the Jets are feeling, who they're believing in. On top of that, at 10th overall, I still would not want Tyler Warren. Again, if they trade back to 18th or something, I'm more open to it. I mean, I'd still rather take like Elijah Arroyo in the following rounds, personally. we talked about this a lot, that it's very often it's better off taking a tight end in not the first round, statistically.
Yep.
So you do go with that, but I probably shouldn't be talking about stats anymore after my earlier blunder.
After your debacle. Yeah,
After
Kelvin
my
Banks.
Embarrassment. Yeah.
Kelvin Banks could be a very good player, and something that he can do for the Jets that no one's talking about. If Armand Membo is taken by the Raiders, and then the Jets go ahead and select Kelvin Banks with the idea of switching him to right tackle, if Olu gets injured or has some sort of accident off the field or decides he wants to quit football, we have another left tackle locked and ready to go, someone who can be elite at that position. Kelvin Banks is a pass protection specialist. His run blocking isn't as good as Armand Membo's, and he doesn't have the experience at right tackle that Membo has. That's why Membo is being placed above Kelvin Banks. But if you ask me, very similar skill. Like, of course, film-wise, they're different players, but overall skill-wise and ceiling-wise, I think they're similar guys. So I don't think, if Armand Membo's gone, I don't think New York Jets fans should be sad that they missed out. I think they can be very excited if we are lucky enough to draft Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas.
I also do think that if you are in the situation where, say, Membo gets picked by the Raiders at 6th overall, and everything else, like, say, the Jaguars don't pick Genty, say Genty's on the board, and Mason Graham goes to the Jags or something like that, and we see the top of the draft be Ward, Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, all the way through to where the only guy who's projected to not be there is Ashton Genty, who's still there. It makes sense to me to trade with the Bears. The Bears want Ashton Genty, so you trade down. Just make sure you're still ahead of the 13th overall Miami Dolphins, and make sure that they're not going to sneak up ahead of you before you do that. So I think it would make sense there. Sorry.
And we want to. You were saying we want to be ahead of the Dolphins because they want a tackle, and that's what we're also looking for. Also, the 49ers want a tackle, which is why the Bears trade down makes a lot of sense. The Bears at pick 10, the 49ers right behind them at pick 11. The only thing that we'd have to be afraid of then would be Miami, like you said, or the San Francisco 49ers jumping up with the New Orleans Saints, jumping ahead of us, who they know as us as also a tackle needy football team.
Just to quickly throw this in also is when we were doing this, I was looking to the side a bit. I was just going through a quick CBS mock draft just to make sure I had the teams right and the order, just to double check. And in the mock draft, it did have actually the 49ers trading up to the 6th overall pick, but it had them taking Mason Graham. So, I mean, interesting choice.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. It makes sense seeing how Mason Graham is the number 3 best prospect on what seems to be the consensus board. Consensus seems to be Travis Hunter, Carter, then Mason Graham. So that would make sense that they're going to go ahead and select the better player. But I'm just going off what I've seen mock draft wise. All the mock drafts I've seen, I haven't seen that mock draft specifically, but the ones I've seen, it's been left tackle every single time. It's been a lot of Josh Simmons and some Kelvin Banks for the 49ers.
Got you. All right, one final question. 24 hours away from 2025 NFL draft. What's your Jets prediction right now?
I think it's going to be Membo. I think we're going to get him.
I'm very heavily leaning Membo. The only other guy that comes to mind is there's a world, I think, where it ends up being Banks. That's my guess.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We remember DraftKings has the New York Jets, as of yesterday, 40% chance to take an offensive tackle. So that's why we are so confident it's going to be Membo or Banks. A lot of people are calling him Membu, not Membo. So we got to confirm that that's how you pronounce his name. But don't blame me. When I watch Missouri games, the volume isn't on the All-22 film. So my bad.
Well, Matt, at the end of the day,
I don't even remember that math question you messed up.
At the end of the day, I counted to 7 and not to 9, and I made fun of you for not counting. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. We have a bunch of draft coverage coming. It's going to be great. I can't speak anymore.
Can't talk, can't count. Oh,
can't speak, can't count. Can't keep recording this video. Go Jets.